Hello, friends! Have you ever seen those videos? Someone with a laptop, a cup of coffee, and a background of either blue tiled houses in Lisbon or a beach in Koh Lanta, Thailand. With some upbeat music, the blogger just clicks upload. But wait, the scene suddenly cuts to a close-up of a passport, and a big red stamp is pressed onto it. Visa rejected. This isn't just acting. For thousands of digital nomads that dream of a low-cost, high-quality life abroad is colliding head-on with harsh reality. The golden age of loose regulations and no one bothering you is over. Welcome to the era of the Great Reckoning. So why are these once paradise destinations once raw denying debt that really works for me? First, we need to understand the core of the digital nomad lifestyle. It's built on a concept called geographic arbitrage. This term might sound intimidating, but it's actually quite simple. Imagine you're a designer living in a place called Dollarville. You earn $1,000 for designing a graphic for a client. But instead of living in Dollarville, you move to a neighboring place called Baht Island. On Baht Island, a top-tier meal only costs 100 Thai baht, which is about $3. You see, you're earning a strong currency, the US dollar, but spending a weaker currency, the Thai baht. You get to live the lifestyle of a CEO in Dollarville, but at the bargain prices of Baht Island. This is geographic arbitrage. This game can only continue under one condition. The village chief of Baht Island either hasn't noticed you or doesn't care that you're doing this. But friends, by 2025, they've noticed. Let's look at case 1, Portugal's 48% tax trap. If we're talking about what's been most popular in recent years, it has to be Portugal. It's practically been the holy grail for digital nomads. Why? Because it had a god-tier tax policy called NHR, or non-habitual resident status. As long as you met the conditions, for 10 years you'd only pay 20% tax, and many overseas incomes were even zero tax. However, those good days are over. At the end of 2023, the Portuguese government slammed on the brakes. The NHR system is gone. They're no longer accepting new applications. You might think, well, if NHR is gone, I can just apply for a new D8 digital nomad visa, right? And this is where the trap begins. First, there's a high threshold. The new D8 visa requires your minimum monthly income to be 4 times Portugal's minimum wage, which is about 3,480 euros. Next comes the big pitfall. As long as you stay in Portugal for 183 days, you automatically become a full tax resident of the country. Finally, the net closes in. Without the NHR umbrella, guess how much tax you'll have to pay? You'll directly face Portugal's local progressive tax rates, which can go as high as 48%. This combination of policies, translated, means those grassroots nomads earning 1,500 euros a month and driving up our prices, please leave. What we want now are administrative nomads who can pay 1,500 euros in rent without batting an eye and happily contribute 48% of their income to our treasury. This move, well, it's a precise class gratification. Moving on to case 2, Thailand's tax maze. Thailand also used to have a famous tax-free loophole. The old rule was any money you earned abroad, as long as it wasn't remitted back to Thailand in the same year, wasn't subject to tax. So nomads would simply wait until January 1st of the following year to transfer their earnings from the previous year. Perfect. Then, in 2024, the Thai tax authorities closed this loophole. The new rule states, no matter when you earn the money, if you reside in Thailand for 180 days and then remit it, you have to pay tax. This immediately sparked strong protests from nomads. But the interesting thing about Thailand is this. Seeing the strong reaction, they softened their stance. In 2025, they drafted a new bill saying, oh, we'll change it back a little bit, giving you a year or 2 grace period. This is the difference between Thailand and Portugal. Portugal is clear and strict. NHR is gone. You pay 48% tax. Thailand is vague and chaotic. New tax rules are coming. Oh, wait, maybe not. Visas? We don't even have a proper nomad visa. For truly high net worth individuals, policy ambiguity is far more frightening than high tax rates. A 48% tax rate can be factored into costs. But who can tolerate a tax law that changes every few months? Finally, let's talk about case 3, Bali's empty promises. For the past few years, headlines have been screaming, Bali to launch revolutionary 5-year tax-free visa. The reality is that as of 2025, this visa still doesn't exist. It's still in the proposal stage. So, has Indonesia launched anything real? Actually, yes. It's called the second home visa. The threshold is that you must deposit 130,000 US dollars, or about 2 billion Indonesian rupiah, in an Indonesian bank or purchase equivalent property. This clearly shows they weren't targeting ordinary nomads at all. They're rolling out the red carpet for the top 1% of the wealthy. Alright, so the question is, why have these countries collectively turned their backs? It's because the locals are genuinely angry. The core accusation is neo-colonialism. Nomads, carrying their privileges of powerful passports and high foreign salaries, flood in. They occupy local housing resources, drive up prices, yet pay almost no taxes, effectively squeezing locals out of their own communities. This isn't an exaggeration. Rents in Lisbon have soared by 40% in the past 5 years. Now, Lisbon and Mexico City have seen protests against digital nomads. Some nomads argue, we were the ones who saved the local economy during the pandemic, and there are only 16,000 of us, while Lisbon has 6.5 million tourists. But this defense is completely untenable. Why? Tourists stay in hotels for only 3 nights, while nomads rent apartments for at least 6 months. Nomads are direct competitors to local families in the housing market. The impact of one nomad on the local rental market is far greater than that of 10 tourists. This macro-level social conflict is perfectly illustrated by the small matter of the coffee shop wars. You've definitely seen it. Someone orders 1 cup of coffee and then occupies a table for 8 hours, treating the coffee shop as their private office. A coffee shop owner, who was once a nomad themselves, put it most harshly. Seeing how some nomads treat our shop, I'm ashamed to have once been one of them. Buy a coffee, then go back to your overpriced foreigner apartment and stop taking up space. Do you see? The struggle for space in a coffee shop and the struggle for housing in a city are essentially the same thing. So, if the old paradises are no longer viable, where have the nomads gone? The new choice for administrative nomads is Spain. Spain's nomad visa, combined with the Beckham law, allows high-income earners to pay a fixed tax rate of only 24%. This is much more attractive than Portugal's 48%. South Korea and Japan are also actively entering the game, but from the outset, they only screen for high-income individuals. For grassroots nomads, the new frontier is Eastern Europe, with Georgia being a top choice. Why? 1 year of visa-free entry and 0 tax on foreign-sourced income. This is like Portugal 5 years ago. Additionally, Mexico and Colombia in Latin America are established strongholds, offering good value for money. Paradise isn't dead, it's just stratifying. The era of loose regulations and wild, untamed growth. The Wild West is over. But this lifestyle hasn't disappeared. It's evolving into different tiers. The future path is very clear, with only 2 options. First, there are administrative nomads. These are high-income, highly skilled professionals. Spain, South Korea, and even high-tax Portugal welcome you. You're seen as a net contributor, someone who will pay high taxes and rent. Then, there are new pioneers. These are the traditional geographic arbitrage nomads. They'll escape to the next frontier, Georgia, Mexico, Colombia. However, an inevitable cycle has already begun. These new pioneers will soon trigger the exact same cycle in Tbilisi and Medellin that they experienced in Lisbon. Rising rents, local resentment, and finally policy tightening. The core of this great reckoning is a shift in identity. In the past, nomads lived in a gray area, neither tourists nor immigrants. They enjoyed the benefits of immigrants, like long-term residency and using public facilities, but didn't bear the responsibilities of immigrants, such as paying taxes. The Great Reckoning of 2025 marks the end of this gray area. Host countries are forcing nomads to make a choice. If you stay for more than 183 days, you're not a nomad, you're a tax resident. If you apply for a D8 visa, you're not a tourist, you're an immigrant. The gates of paradise haven't closed, they've simply become toll booths. And in 2025, the toll fees have just significantly increased.